G'day guys and welcome to ReDriven. Now, last week we published our top 5 cars of 2021, the cars that we reviewed. And if you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. The link for it is just up there. But this week, we're looking at the other end of the spectrum.
These are the cars that were a letdown, were underwhelming, or we'd avoid at all cost.
Now, as something of a disclaimer, look, obviously with these cars, there are examples out there that are actually quite good and haven't had any problems. And many of these cars do have something of a loyal fan base, and therefore the fact that the cars are on this list, that fan base might get in a bit of a tiz. And therefore that may mean that some of these fan bases will want to write some abusive comments to us. But guys, just because we don't like your car, that doesn't mean that we don't like you. This is not a personal or direct attack at you. They're just cars. So if we're not attacking you, can I ask a favor? Can you not attack and personally abuse us in the comments?
Look, it's okay to have a shit car, and we've all made mistakes. And if you've bought one of these, it's not the end of the world because it's just a car.
Anyway, look, let's get into this. These are the top 5 worst cars that we reviewed in 2021. Okay, kicking things off, my 5th place getter is the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT. Let's do the positives first. Yes, it's pretty bloody fast for an SUV, the engine sounds awesome, and it looks tough. That's about it. The problem I have with the SRT might be more about me than the car itself. See, maybe I'm just not masculine enough for the SRT. At the start of the SRT video, I mentioned that the big Jeep is either brilliant because it's a practical SUV that also happens to be fast and it has that big tough American image about it, or maybe it's a bit shit because thanks to the lowered suspension, the big wheels and performance tyres, it can no longer do real SUV stuff. Yet because it's a big heavy SUV, it's never going to be a real performance car either. It's just far too compromised. For me, and after having it for a little while, sorry guys, but I agree with the latter. Look, yes, it is fast in a straight line, and on smooth surfaces, I suppose it's fun in its own way, but in the real world, and after loads of kilometres, the ride is now harsh and crashy at best. That has caused the interior to rattle, and in our case, literally fall apart. It drinks fuel at an alarming rate when you put the boot in, and for what they cost to buy, the whole vehicle just feels a bit cheap and nasty. Look, I know these have their fans, but maybe I just don't get it. I fail to see what the attraction is. For what many of these cost to buy, for the same money, I'd rather have an SUV that can genuinely tackle some serious off-road stuff, plus a real performance car, like maybe say an FJ Cruiser and an 86/BRZ.
You see, as a mechanic, a lot of the cars we see in the workshop, they're all pretty much the same. Some are more difficult to work on and the parts are more expensive for some, but by and large, they're all pretty much the same. To help me with my list of the top 5 worst cars we've reviewed this year, I wanted to take into account the experiences of some of my customers and their broken hearts and broken bank accounts. So to kick off my top 5, it's the R50 Mini. From a plethora of cooling system issues to failed transmissions and a myriad of engine problems, power steering dramas, and the list goes on and on. I've seen some owners hand over some serious cash to keep these things on the road. Some say these are a future collectible. Time will tell, I guess. And if there's any of these still around in 20 years, it's only because enthusiasts have spent a fortune on keeping them on the road.
Okay, talk about a car that bloody broke my heart. In 4th place, it's the Mini Cooper. Now look, it's important to remember we didn't review the Cooper S, just the Cooper, which I'll be honest, I wanted to love, but that love quickly dissolved. Okay, look, positives first. Personally, I still love the styling. For me, this is the best looking generation of BMW era Mini. It's timeless and classic. Secondly, look, it was fun to drive, but only on the right road and one that has 0 bumps or any imperfections. But the negatives, even though this particular example has been fastidiously maintained, this might just be the rattliest car we reviewed all year. The build quality is honestly a bit of a joke for a car that is technically a BMW and one that asked a premium price when new. My real issue with the Mini is that we're seeing many new drivers and first-time car owners buying them as they appear to be bargains, yet the maintenance costs can be catastrophic in comparison to what the car costs to buy. Engine failures, transmission failures, endless oil leaks, electronic issues, the list of common faults and issues are extensive. And add to that the fact that due to the styling, the actual engine packaging can make accessing failing components a total nightmare. Labour charges can quickly add up. The Mini almost encompasses why ReDriven exists. It might seem like a cool, funky car and a bit of a bargain to buy on the used market, but dig deeper and you'll quickly learn that this is a car best avoided, unless you're a hardcore fan happy to continually throw money at it just to keep it working.
Next on my list might be a bit controversial. My number 4 spot is the Subaru Forester. I know, they're a good size, they're comfortable, and they're surprisingly capable off-road. And there was a time when a lot of mechanics would have considered these a good, reliable car, but they just haven't stood the test of time. They're cheap to buy now, but the chronic head gasket leaks, auto transmission problems, wheel bearing failures, the added maintenance cost of timing belt replacements, they're just not a good thing anymore.
Okay, this is another car that is really polarizing because there are those owners out there that absolutely love them. Like my best mate that owns one and was really upset at me once the review came out. It's the Nissan Qashqai / Dualis Sport. For me, the Qashqai is a great example of everything wrong with cars from the last few years. It's just so vanilla and boring and mundane. If you're a car person, which if you're watching this, we're assuming you probably are, you know how people around you generally roll their eyes when you start talking about cars. It's because drab, soul-sucking, bland cars like the Qashqai is what pops into their mind when a car is mentioned. Even more depressing is that this thing is from the brand that brought us inspiring and epic cars like the 200SX or Silvia 350 and 370Z and even the GTR, all of which were made only a few years earlier or even at the exact same time as when this thing happened. Nissan, why couldn't you borrow some of the love and passion from your fun cars and inject it into your normal cars instead of putting us to sleep with the bloody Qashqai? Beyond its lack of charisma, many of these suffer from major quality issues. The list of common faults and dramas were extensive, and basically, for me at least, the very, very few positives fail to outweigh the litany of negatives. Look, it wasn't a totally shit car, it was just so bleh.
Next on my tow truck, list, it's the Volkswagen Tiguan. It's a real body blow to the owners of these things when they learn that some of them are just plagued with problems. Righto, put down your pitchforks for a second. A few of them are okay, but a lot of them are complete shit. Across the range, the list of potential mechanical problems is long. Engine failures, cooling system problems, transmission failures, electrical gremlins, and they just fall apart. The sad part for owners a lot of the time is that they thought they were buying a really good, reliable European car, but the reality is they're terrible.
Okay, in second place, and I'm going to guess that you guys thought this was going to take out my top spot, it's the Holden / Chevrolet Cruze. If you look up disappointing in the dictionary, the definition should just be a picture of the Cruze. From the truly terrible build quality to a list of common faults and complaints that was so extensive it verged on terrifying, to the fact that this car is one of the reasons our iconic Holden collapsed, the Cruze is so bad it might just be evil. Granted, the ride quality and handling in the example that we reviewed was actually quite good, thanks to its Australian engineered suspension. And amazingly, the Cruze does actually have a fan base of loyal supporters, which is kind of like chlamydia having a fan base of loyal supporters. But besides the ride quality and a couple of other sporadic positives, for me, it was all negatives for the Cruze. Also, not only is it a genuinely bad car, it also suffers from the Qashqai disease of just being so bloody boring. Look, the turbo models sort of have a bit of poke about them, but again, they're just so bland in every other way. If you need the full details of why this car is so catastrophically bad, just click on the link up there.
My number 2 spot, and it only just snuck in because we filmed it at the end of 2021, it's the Mercedes GL 450. These cars have depreciated terribly, and more than most other cars, and rightly so. However, they are still expensive to buy and less common. So thankfully, not too many people have to suffer their shitness. They have as many problems, if not more, than most cars on the road, and when they do break, which is often, they're eye-wateringly expensive to fix. Some owners put up with a chronic check engine warning light and things just falling apart, and others just send them to us on a tow truck. But most owners, sooner or later, just get rid of them. If you have one without any problems, that's awesome, but I recommend you trade it in on a Lexus before it breaks your heart. But then I feel sorry for the next person who owns it. Hopefully soon they'll all be gone.
Now guys, if you've already subscribed or you've thrown us a thumbs up or you've shared one of our videos, thank you so much. ReDriven can't grow without you guys, so we appreciate you so much. But if you haven't subscribed or you haven't thrown us a like or you haven't shared one of our videos, can you do so? Because yeah, it would really help out. We would really appreciate it. Okay, taking out this list of the worst cars we reviewed in 2021, and only just sneaking into contention because even though the video came out in 2022, we filmed it in 2021, it's the Mercedes-Benz GL class. Okay, my issue with the GL class and why I feel it's actually worse than the Holden / Chevrolet Cruze is that the Cruze, even when new, was marketed as a good value for money economical family car. The GL, on the other hand, was sold to us as the biggest, most luxurious 7-seat SUV from European premium brand Mercedes-Benz. Hence why here in Australia, it retailed for well north of $150,000. But in reality, it's a big, cumbersome, American-made pile of rattles and squeaks that will cost a fortune to maintain, as pretty much everything will probably go wrong with it. Actually, since we filmed the review, the actual GL that we featured has had the passenger side suspension basically fail. The electronic issues are now so bad that when one problem is fixed, just another one appears. The rattles seem to be getting worse, and it feels like the car is actually falling apart. Probably hence why the GL drops in value at insane levels. Look, we go into the pricing more thoroughly in the review video, but some GLs have lost anywhere from 75% to even 95% of their value since new. And as I mentioned in our top 5 cars of 2021, I couldn't give a crap about all the panache and image that comes with luxury brand names, and that's why the GL class just infuriates me. People fall for all the marketing hype around Mercedes and BMW and Audi and all of the other luxury manufacturers all of the time. And look, that's totally okay if the product these companies supply is superior to the mainstream in every way, and if this product retains its quality and delivers real longevity. But the GL class, it might just be one of the most blatant attempts at conning the general public into thinking it's a premium product purely because it's wearing a luxury badge. The GL just doesn't live up to its luxurious reputation. It's no better than the vast majority of other 7-seat SUVs out there. And look, in many ways, it's actually worse than much of the competition. Guys, look, my real worry is that if you feel this deep need and desire to drive a luxury brand and you're happy to ignore all of the potential problems just to drive a Mercedes GL, what does that say about you?
My number 1 spot in the crap cars of 2021, and no surprises here really, it's the Holden Cruze. These cars are comically bad, and what is surprising is how many of them were sold. And they were bad right from the start. Nowadays the old ones are pretty much worthless, and when something serious goes wrong, typically the repair cost is way more than the car is worth. But you could still buy these in Australia right up until 2016, and unfortunately people have spent good money on them and kind of have to fix them. Who knows? Maybe soon, one day in the not too distant future, we'll fondly remember them like their predecessors, the Vectra, Astra, Chimera, Zafira and Viva.
Now again, guys, thank you so much for all of your support through 2021. We appreciate it more than you'll ever know, and we are so pumped and excited for 2022. We've got some huge plans. But I'm going to ask that favor again. If you haven't, can you please hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon button and reshare this video? Actually, reshare as many of our videos as you can and spread the ReDriven name, because the more you do all of that stuff, the more content we can make for you guys, and that's all we want to do. We want to make you guys the best content we possibly can. Thank you so much. Oh, also, what did you think of this video? Let us know in the comments. See you next time.
Look, it's okay to have a shit car.
It's the Holden /
The sad part for a lot of owners is that a lot of them, why can't I read my own writing?
Which is kind of like chlamydia having a fan of loyal supporters. A fan of loyal supporters, dickhead.
And if you have one of these, why can't I remember my shit?
Come on, brain, let's work as a team. Now guys, if you've already subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed, f me. The issues and potential problems of can you please hit those like, subscribe and bell buttons, and maybe learn to breathe halfway through so you don't die of exhaustion. Here we go. Motorbike, not a Harley, but so it's okay.